In the world of cybercrime, people often imagine a genius hacker, someone sitting in a dark room, writing complicated code and breaking through impossible security systems. But one of the biggest digital frauds in history happened in a completely different way. No viruses, no advanced hacking tools, no attack on a company's servers, just emails, fake documents, and one very convincing lie. This is the story of Evaldas Rimasauskas, a Lithuanian businessman who managed to steal more than $100 million from two of the biggest technology companies in the world, Google and Facebook. But the shocking part is not how he hacked them. Because he didn't, he convinced them to send the money themselves. Before becoming known as one of the most famous names in business email compromise scams, Rimasauskas was not a legendary hacker. He was not the leader of a secret cybercrime group. He was a businessman from Lithuania who understood something very important. Sometimes, the easiest way to break into a company is not by attacking its technology. It's by understanding its people. The target he chose was not random. He focused on a real company called Quanta Computer, a major Taiwanese electronics manufacturer that worked with some of the world's biggest technology companies. Because Quanta was a trusted supplier, its name already carried credibility. And that was exactly what Rimasauskas needed. He created a company with a similar identity and used it as a disguise. The goal was simple: make employees believe they were communicating with a company they already trusted. The plan was based on a dangerous idea. People don't question things that look familiar. A normal invoice, a normal payment request, a normal business email. Everything looked like a routine transaction. And that was the trap. For weeks, the fake communications continued. The emails looked professional. The documents looked real. The requests appeared to come from a trusted business partner. And slowly, millions of dollars started moving. But this was only the beginning, because Rimasauskas was about to prove something that would change how companies viewed cybersecurity forever. The biggest threat was not always a broken firewall or a stolen password. Sometimes, the biggest vulnerability was trust itself. At first, everything looked completely normal. There was no warning, no security alert, no sign that one of the biggest technology companies in the world was being targeted. The reason was simple. The attack did not look like an attack. It looked like everyday business. Rimasauskas understood something important. Large companies process thousands of payments every day. Employees receive invoices. They review documents. They approve transactions. And when a request looks familiar, people naturally trust it. That was the weakness he decided to exploit. The fake company he created was designed to look like the real Quanta Computer. The name was similar, the communication style was similar, and the documents were made to appear professional. Everything was built around one goal: remove doubt. The first payments went through, and when nobody immediately noticed anything unusual, the operation continued. More invoices were sent, more payment requests were made, and more money started flowing into accounts controlled by Rimasauskas. But this was not a random scam. The attack was carefully planned. He did not simply send thousands of emails and hope someone would fall for them. He studied how large companies communicate with their suppliers. He understood that trust was the most valuable part of the system, because if employees believed they were paying a real business partner, the payment itself would not look suspicious. This is what made the attack so dangerous. Millions of dollars were transferred through bank accounts connected to the fake company. And behind the scenes, the money began moving across different countries. The goal was clear: make the trail harder to follow. For a while, the plan worked. However, every financial crime leaves traces. Every account, every transfer, every document. And eventually, someone would start asking the question that would change everything. Why did the payment details change? The question was simple. But the answer would uncover one of the biggest business email compromise cases in history. Why had the payment information changed? At first, the requests looked legitimate. But as investigators started looking closer, they noticed something unusual. The company receiving the money was not the real Quanta Computer. It was a different company, one created to look like it. That discovery changed the direction of the investigation. Someone had deliberately created a fake identity and used it to trick employees inside some of the world's largest companies. Investigators began following the financial trail. The picture became clearer. The fake company was connected to Evaldas Rimasauskas, but finding a name was only the beginning. Money moved through locations including Lithuania, Hungary, Slovakia, and other countries. Each transfer created another layer between the stolen funds and the person controlling them. But the same thing that helped Rimasauskas hide the money also helped investigators find him. Financial transactions leave records, companies leave registration documents, and bank accounts cannot completely disappear. The investigation revealed that this was not a random criminal operation. It was built around a real person, a real company registration, and a real financial network. The fake identity that helped him steal millions was also the thing that eventually exposed him. In 2017, U.S. authorities announced the arrest of Evaldas Rimasauskas, the man who had convinced two of the biggest technology companies in the world to send more than $100 million. But the story was not over, because now came the hardest question. Where did all the money go, and how much of it could ever be recovered? After his arrest, the investigation moved into the next stage. More than $100 million had entered accounts connected to the scheme. But recovering stolen money is often much harder than stealing it. Rimasauskas had moved the money through different accounts and different countries. The purpose was to make the financial trail harder to follow. But investigators were able to identify assets connected to the fraud. In 2019, Evaldas Rimasauskas appeared in a U.S. federal court and pleaded guilty. He admitted his role in a scheme that used fake invoices and fraudulent business communications to steal more than $100 million from Google and Facebook. The court sentenced him to 5 years in prison. He was also ordered to forfeit around $49.7 million connected to the crime. In addition, he was ordered to pay about $26.5 million in restitution to the victims. But an important question remained. What happened to the rest of the money? The complete journey of every dollar has never been publicly explained. Some funds were recovered or blocked. Some assets connected to the crime were seized, but the full amount was never publicly accounted for. The story of Evaldas Rimasauskas left behind a question that many companies had to ask themselves. How could a simple email lead to one of the biggest financial losses in the history of technology? The answer was uncomfortable. The attack did not succeed because companies had weak technology. It succeeded because the process looked normal. Employees were not ignoring security rules. They were doing what they were trained to do every day. They were processing invoices. They were communicating with suppliers. They were completing business transactions. The problem was that someone had carefully created a situation where the wrong action looked like the right one. After this case became public, businesses around the world paid more attention to a threat known as business email compromise. Companies began improving payment verification procedures. They started requiring additional confirmation for large transfers, and they became more aware that even a trusted email could be fake. A convincing lie can sometimes be more powerful than a complicated attack. And perhaps the biggest lesson from this case is simple. Before sending money, before trusting a request, before assuming everything is normal, stop and verify. Because in the digital world, the person on the other side of an email may not be who they claim to be. And if you want to hear more real stories about the biggest financial crimes and cyber attacks in history, Subscribe and join us for the next investigation.